I'm Dawn Witter. I'm from Danville, Virginia. As of the last information session in Danville, Virginia, Duke had only recovered 22 tons of the now suspected 39,000 tons that they released into our river. We need to be very vocal, and we need to demand that Duke removes all the coal ash so that our wildlife, our rivers, our families, our investments are all protected for our future generations. In Danville, we're already at a financial deficit. I don't know if many of you know about the community up there, but the closing of our mills devastated our economy. The mills had done damage to our river in the past, that's true. Decades after protections were put in place, our rivers were still attempting to recover. We still had warnings on fish consumption due to elevated mercury and PCBs. And over the years, there have been like small improvements, not much at all, as the contamination started to lessen a little bit. During this time, people still fished. It was necessary. We had to post warnings, hoping that people would stay away from the fish or at least consume a smaller amount. But with the closing of our mills, more people were out of work. More people turned to the river for fish to feed their families. And even with the warnings, people still fish there every day. They still pull the fish from the rivers. They will take their buckets along the rivers for the people who are just fishing for fun, and they will ask for the fish that they were going to release. For some, it's fish or it's nothing, and this is still happening today, 80 years after they attempted to start to put the stop on all of the stuff being dumped from the mills. What we have in Danville is a very serious situation. We have a struggling economy and a desperate people. And now with the Duke spill, we have a very bad situation continuing to build. We have people that will not heed the warnings, they can't, or they will starve. We have increased levels of toxins in our water in the form of sludge, with our rivers' tendency to flood that will continue to churn up and redeposit. When it gets to outside of the river, when it floods and then it dries, that kicks up with the winds and into the air, and then we breathe that in. As the levels increase in the fish, health risks to our city's poor population will increase with it. That's not even including what could leak into our drinking water. We need to demand that Duke remove all of the ponds away from any waterways and find a solution to properly store the coal ash. We also need to demand a move towards cleaner energy. We can't keep poisoning our world and expect to continue with no consequences. That's not possible. We are asking that our North Carolina neighbors keep fighting and keep pushing for change and action with us. We share the Dan. It's precious to all of us. Right now, it is in trouble, and it needs us to speak for it. It needs us to make sure that Duke is not only held accountable, but forced to fully clean up all the damage done so our river can begin its healing process. I wasn't going to, but I want to say one more thing. Wesley, would you please stand up? This is my son, Wesley. He's a cancer survivor.
Amen, amen.
But he is only 2 years in remission. He's still in danger, and now we've got all of these more toxins dumped into our river. And we're out there walking for exercise along the river. He is at risk. That right there is the face of what is in danger right now with all of this pollution. My child's life. Thank you.
We need every mother and every father to say, my child's life is in danger. There's nothing benign about what's going on here. Now, we come to these local areas, we went tomorrow, Mondays, 13 of them in Raleigh, and then we said when they went home, we would go home with them because we can't allow our elected officials to have a pass. Now, no pass. You got Republican or Democrat, doesn't make us any difference. So we did a report card on every legislator, every one of them, on the 20 areas, and there were 3 votes We want to know where people, where they had an opportunity to show where they stood on the environment. No, there were 4 of them. There was a vote on undue regulation. There was a vote on protecting the coastline, a vote on water cleanup, and a vote on fracking. If you're voting for removing so-called undue regulation, and giving corporations more power, if you're voting against protecting the coast and you're voting against water cleanup and you're voting for fracking, then in essence, you are predisposed, you have a predisposition to supporting the very kind of policies that allow a Duke Energy to do this in the first place. And you all, we ought to say to Phil Berger, we ought to say to Brian Holloway and Burt Jones and Governor McCoy, you come out here and live beside this river. You come drink this water. You come smell this coal ash. You put your hand in this coal ash. Don't stay up in Raleigh in a quarantine. Come down here and live where we live and breathe what we breathe and drink what we drink and experience what we experience. Don't act like a corporation is more important than our community. And we ought to tell Duke there's something more than just making money. And we ought to tell them, if you think March Madness was something, you haven't seen April, May, and June Madness and the way we're going